Well, looks like we're live.
Awesome. Hey.
Hey, hey. All right. Hello everybody, and welcome to this short segment, Crypto 2023 in review. I'm Andrew. I'm the CTO here at Myria, and it's been a wild year. And my co-founder Brendan and I want to touch on some of the key events that have really shaped the last 12 months as we wrap up 2023 and boldly plunge ahead into 2024. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be super exciting. I think we have short memories in the crypto space. Understandably, it's a fast-moving space, but yeah, hopefully walking down memory lane a little bit with you, Andrew. We'll see. 23 had a lot in store, both good and bad. Milestones worth mentioning, not just for Myria, of course, but as an industry as a whole. So. I guess to set the stage and kind of give an idea of how 2023 started out, we have a report from DappRadar at the beginning of the year that said that gamers made up nearly, I don't have the exact percentage on hand, but nearly half of all blockchain activity. I mean, for me, that's a huge chunk considering we're no longer in this is in 2012 when there's not that many blockchain use cases out there. There's a lot going on now, so to make up half of that is pretty significant. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's rad. Not to date myself here, but yeah, no. I mean, gamers have always been on the cutting edge of new tech, and I mean, blockchain is definitely no exception. I mean, it was our part of our going into it, part of our belief that the gamer spirit and like the ethos of decentralization were very kind of deeply related, and the evidence really seems to be bearing that out. But it's not an accident that I mentioned gaming first, because that's also really one of our key premises is that the games have to be fun. I mean, that's just and not just some chore. I mean, we've seen that before. You have to have a great time, and then by the way, you also accumulate your own ownership of these Web3 assets and things. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's also a testament to our overall theory that just the use case in at an ideological level makes a lot of sense as well. So not surprising on one hand, but still 50% to me is that's a big number. And then of course on our side of the fence, we want to make that process, as everybody knows, as seamless and as untaxing as possible, both with our L2 solution, but also the tools built on top of that. And I reckon not a lot of gamers appreciate being slapped with high gas fees, and so I'm not sure this number could have been met without some of the other art projects that are already out there trying to help reduce those costs. But with Myria doing that too, I think we can get this up even higher. And scalability is not something that's going to get less important as time goes on. This is going to become more important if we want to continue to drive these numbers in terms of game adoption.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to February of 2023 this year. So I mean, what do you think about all of these major Asian gaming companies driving into the Web3 space? There's been a lot of news about adoption, not just in the traditional regions like Japan and China, but also newer territories like Vietnam and Indonesia and the Philippines. So, I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, super exciting. Super exciting for a few reasons. Of course, Asia has been at the forefront, as we all know, of the gaming industry for a long time. And with the advent of Web3, these giants in the space are signaling a shift toward exactly what we want to be happening, more decentralized and I think when we say more decentralized, we also mean more generally more player-centric ecosystems. If you can own your assets and don't have to rely on studios to guarantee that the time and energy you're investing in these games are going to respect what you invested going forward, then that's player-centric. It's a strategic move that aligns with the growing demand for blockchain integration into gaming. I also think it's really nice to see. I don't know that this has been the reason, but it's cool to see it happening in. I don't want to say less developed countries, but developing countries. We can say because I've long believed that that's probably where some of best blockchain use cases will start to emerge. What does a blockchain provide? It's a better arbitration system, essentially. So if you're operating in an environment with suboptimal court systems, be that because there's corruption or simple inefficiency, and you're not able to keep up, your nation state that you live in is not able to keep up with new complex economic models, then it's quite logical that you're going to go search for arbitration elsewhere. And I think having this pop up in places like Southeast Asia and the likes, this could be a really cool way to sort of leapfrog into the middle of the 21st century now, instead of having to rely on court activity to keep up with, could you own digital assets and all that? No, you own digital assets yourself on a decentralized system. So that's really cool to me, because that's been a theory of mine for a long time. It also proves, the last thing I would say about this is that it's not as if, I mean, this was the case definitely when I was involved in my early days in Bitcoin, but it's no longer the case that you have to be sort of a new wave developer or a finance geek or an anarchist or something to reap the rewards of what we and our partners are building. There are a ton of projects out there that are making it really easy, and we're really excited to be a part of that process.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, I mean, so the challenges in the space are still ones of scalability and smooth user experience, and all the regulatory landscapes, which are the ones that we're investing a lot of time and effort to address, because we really do feel that the opportunities are huge. So yeah, I mean, we're pioneering innovative gameplay mechanics and exploring new monetization strategies, and I mean, at the end of the day, offering a game experience that's more immersive and transparent, and again, overall player centric, as you say, more than ever before.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so going ahead into March. Yeah, a lot of things that happened right at the tail end of Q1. So if you remember, we had that awesome closed community demo for Meta Rush, and yes. I mean, that one was great because we so on like the first one, we on this one we dropped not one but 5 new levels on the fans to show them sort of the gamut, sort of the range of the gameplay that Meta Rush is really leaning into. And I mean, I think they had a blast. I mean, they seemed to have a blast playing the game, but also, I mean, I think that they were really psyched about seeing all the input that they provided, actually show up in the game. So, we had their suggestions. We know we're always coming in, and then we actually had the contests, the community contests, and yeah, I think during that time you might have been really focused on blockchain infra and stuff like that. So I don't think you were in the games in those sessions as much, but I do know you've been playing the latest version internally. So hey, what do you think about it so far?
Yes, I was both busy and very involved on the infrastructure side, of course, but no, it's been great to finally get my hands on it. It's not your sort of typical run-of-the-mill obstacle runner, which people may have expected. There's a ton of creative thought that went into the level design and elsewhere, and it definitely shows. And I'm aware that the sort of maybe garden variety player is probably less aware of just how many art proposals are flowing in and out of the desk every day, but there are a lot. And I think that to your point there, Andrew, that I like to think that our community really appreciates this level of transparency that you just talked about there. Having this early view into sort of all the concept art that's coming out on and that we're sort of displaying to our community on X and everywhere else. I think that bridges I mean, it goes to our overall philosophy, right? That we're trying to be more player centric. This is not typically, and you would obviously know this even better than I would, but this isn't typically a way that a studio works with their community. This relationship between studio and player is sort of novel. And I think that's again something really exciting that we're trying to continue to push player centric, that we're allowing this very sort of raw experience of watching the game evolve over time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and people, I mean, I really get the sense that people feel like it's their own pet project.
Yeah, that's
Air
it.
quotes here, but the camera's not capturing them. We, no, I mean, we have like our community is just really deeply invested, in the progress of the games, and also the ones that our partners are building. And I mean, you can kind of feel the electricity when you talk to them. So March, not to stray too far off topic, but so in March we also launched the white paper, and we did the Alliance Keys airdrop, and we did a big drop of more Myriaverse lore, the whole backstory behind the Myriaverse, and I mean we're excited to share what utility that the keys will be bringing to the ecosystem members everywhere. I mean, Myrians everywhere. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, what was I going to say? Sticking with the community engagement topic for a while. I mean, you did a big pile of it back in April. Moving on to April, when we went live with the just when we were going live with the token, and I know you did a big whirlwind whistle stop tour across a lot of different communities and Reddit and media partners and things. So how was that like? How was the representation? I mean, were people throwing their underwear at you and stuff like that?
I was about I was about to make a similar joke. Yeah, it was a tour in all the same ways, except that I never left my room. Yeah, it was crazy in a good way. My calendar was definitely chock full during this period, but all of great opportunities. I thought it was a good time to share the achievement with everyone, and all the work that went into it, because it goes without saying, but this a good token doesn't just happen in one day. The project was for months in the making, and to really come up with a system that could produce a sound economy that would be good for all participants was not easy. And it really was a long time coming. So was very happy to get out there and be able to spread the good word. Yeah, we had to connect a lot of dots and have certain key elements in place, as you'd expect, to get this ecosystem flooded with its lifeblood, so to speak. And as Frankenstein would put it, it's very much alive now.
Alive. Yeah, Frankenstein. Timely reference. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's accurate. Yeah. Well, so anyway, yeah, definitely. So anyway, along with that, in April was our public node sale, and which we we just really blew open the door so that anybody could join in and be a node operator. And I mean, the people who got in early got a really good deal on in terms of the price of nodes and things. Although I will say that now still counts as an early period in terms of those who were wanting to to get in and be node operators. So still early days, but yeah, it's going good.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So moving on to May. Of course, as I said at the beginning, this was a wild year because we had a lot of wins, but it was also a wild year at a broader level for the industry, because there were war scenes, so to speak, as well. And in this case, speaking in May, I mean that we saw the major hit to NFTs by way of their price. Some of the popular collections saw as much as a sort of 95% decline in value. Of course, this has brought sort of a lot of shade onto the NFT industry at large. I'd argue it's not all negative, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, let's talk about that, because we definitely want to dig deep. Yeah, I mean, I remember surfing all the marketplaces and seeing all those JPEGs costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, that was the proverbial shizzle. Is that what they're saying these days? No, that's outdated.
Yeah, they're saying
that the shizzle back in late 2021. But one thing to realize, though, is that I mean, it absolutely sucks that a lot of people lost money there. But at the same time, it does sort of point the way that we're sort of vectoring towards a maturing market. And I mean, it was a big reality check for collectors and investors. But it really does serve to underscore the importance of having the sustainable value and the utility in the blockchain assets rather than just be chasing whatever hot little something is trending at the moment.
Yeah, no, very well said. I had a conversation with our voyage partners recently, and we discussed this at length in that AMA. But I think that's what's especially interesting about gaming assets, right? Is that there is real value in these assets. You every day you get on the server and you're playing the game, you're using these assets, right? And as long as there's continued interest in games, which will be forever and more so, then I think there are some very interesting approaches to making sure that we can sort of infuse sustainable value into the NFTs that we're helping launch. So that was really cool seeing just how, I mean, it's early days, of course, and we're going to see some ideas that we can't even imagine yet, both in our own games and with studios. But it was fun having that conversation to listen to where people are thinking how we make these sustainable assets long term.
Yeah, you done said something there. But also, when these Web3 studios, are able to get their hands on slick tools that really help them to streamline the process of getting their games onto the blockchain, is when they really shine in terms of creating great game experiences, because that's the core competency is the games. Mm-hmm. And so, being able to give them that boost in productivity and allow them to focus their bandwidth on their games is one of the key reasons that Myria even exists in the first place. Yeah, and in fact, to that end, another one of our, just sort of moving on in time, another feather in our cap was our launch in June of the improved SDK and the developer portal.
Yes. So, of course, this is something that we were extremely proud of at the time and continue to be very proud of. Our software development kits. And as you're rightly pointing out, all of the both new possibilities, but also just, we know game producers are good at producing games. Game studios are good at producing games already. So just allowing them to continue creating fun, awesome games and not have to focus on this stuff is something we're very happy about. These developers now have a wide access to a range of building blocks that they can use, from collection templates to intuitive wallet manager, where they can what can they do? Build, mint, and manage assets from a dedicated treasury. So sort of it runs the spectrum of what you'd be able to expect and what you need in order to produce a Web3 game. And I think our developer portal will really help developers get from A to Z efficiently, because apart from having a fully equipped developer account on the platform, developers are also given loads of documentation, but also tutorials on how to complete a lot of these tasks that, well, to be frank, I think some of the tasks that they might even not have expected they needed to do. So giving them access to a test net and sort of walking them through examples of have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? I think we've gotten really good feedback about okay, the tools are great, but the documentation, sort of walking them through exactly what they need to do with these tools has been great.
Yeah, it's totally. I mean, it's really turning out super solid. So what else did I want to touch on? Oh yeah, so great. I mean, June was also a great month for supporting our partners, not just the game studios that we were talking about, but also the node operators, because we have this, as you know, we have the big, robust referral program, and I mean, it's still really active, and I mean, it's a great incentive for the operators to keep growing the ecosystem. All right, so July. So yeah, I mean, July was kind of a funky one. The industry took a bit of a hit with Sega pulling out of blockchain, kind of appearing to pull out of blockchain.
That's right. What and why was that again? What was the rationalization there?
So the brass at Sega, they decided that they decided, for whatever big stogie chomping reasons, they decided that the idea of doing blockchain games or letting Web3 devs license their IPs was something that they just wanted to table for the time being, maybe out of caution or something. But it was bad timing, right? Because right at that time was when all the NFT prices were just cratering, and so Sega, their position was, play to earn's boring and grindy, and games should focus on being fun. And I mean, there's absolutely legitimacy to that. But so what they did was they sort of they withheld the bigger franchises, but then they sort of hedged their bets, sort of a hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. Fun. Anyway, sorry, that's so stupid. Somebody really should revoke my pun privileges. Okay, so they sort of hedged their bets and approved the NFT use for like less popular titles like Virtua Fighter and Three Kingdoms.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, this jogs my memory. It's unfortunate, but and well, even my prediction on this front is is maybe a little bit unfortunate in and of itself. But I've long thought that sort of adoption by these larger players is very likely one of those situations where those more skeptical don't like the technology, and I don't think it's necessary, because I think that's going to be a big changing point in our industry, is when it goes from this is something cool that you can do with your game to this technology is really necessary. You need this. Your players simply are not going to have assets that just sit on a database. They are investing time and energy, and they want to make sure that these assets are theirs. But as I was saying, I think this is that situation where you don't think it's necessary right up until the day of right after you needed it. So that's to say that I imagine there could be some sort of event or something where it becomes very clear that if, for example, you're an American player playing on servers in Southeast Asia, and there's some sort of situation that arises, which now all of a sudden you're not allowed to play on that server, you lose your assets. These are going to be the sort of things that end up moving the bigger players, in my opinion. That's not to try to scare people into adoption, but I don't know. I just think that's often how security enhancing technology runs. It's hard to produce. It's hard to convince somebody that they need to secure themselves against risks that they don't think are there. But these are things that will eventually get those decisions flipped around, I think. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, who? Wait a second. I want to address something in the chat here. Johnny said I'm looking tired. It's not tired. It's old. See, I've been in sports for 30 years. And you have this fresh-faced Brendan over here. He's our young pretty boy. I've just been doing games and pounding them out since the 90s, since probably most of y'all. Oh, never mind. I don't get into that. So, right. So you were talking about skepticism, but who wasn't skeptical about Web3?
We weren't. Was it us? You talking about us?
Okay, well, duh. But right. No, but actually, also was all of those. Right around that time, all those big backers behind, there was a big $300 million investment infusion into blockchain gaming. And so, I mean, even though at the time the whole crypto space is taking a hit, and Binance and Coinbase are getting probulated by the regulatory agencies, but if you actually dig a little bit deeper, you see that the investor confidence was really strong. In fact, in July, in things like confidence was number one in July 2023 in things like infrastructure and web gaming, and dev and tools and SDKs, and they all got right just in that short period they got another $200 million in investment capital. Yeah,
that's huge. That's huge. I remember reading this and being really excited. It's one thing when you and this is not to seeing votes of confidence from anywhere and from anybody is great. It's always exciting. But when you're in the midst of a crazy bull market and you see a number like this, you go, yeah, okay, but maybe they might believe in Web3 gaming long term, or they might want to turn 200 million into 400 million in a 3-month span or something like that, right? But to see this this vote of confidence, as I continue to refer to it as, in the sort of environment that we were in July, this is really, really cool. And I think knowing the people I know in this space, that investment is going to be turned into a continuing array of very, very cool products. So excited to see what comes of that. But no, really, really good sign to see the quote unquote smart money still coming in at a time like that.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that is the proportion actually of the major games developers who are leaning into Web3. In September September. It was 75.2%, which
Wow.
includes like Microsoft and Tencent and
Mm.
Sony and Nintendo and Ubisoft, which is cool because I mean I was at Sony and I was at Ubisoft before founding Myria, and so I'm glad to see that they're also on board. Kind of validates my decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, hugely. And you mentioned that because I think the move from traditional consoles to blockchain is a very cool step. Of course, again, like you, it validates why I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that was cool. But yeah, it allows, again, as we've said, new stuff without hopefully taking away from this core mission that all of those names you just mentioned have, which is to create an enjoyable experience. So yeah, that number is awesome. I've also heard maybe I was one of them for a little while, but not any longer. But I've heard a lot of purists branding blockchain as something an abomination or something like that. Maybe even comparing it to AI in some ways. But I think there's a well, not just in the way that it might be able to take away from the art of producing a game in its comparison to AI. But personally, I think there's a very good way to strike a balance between the new technology and continuing to deliver on the core mission of a good fun round of gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the skepticism comes from really comes from the fact that there was a lot of just crappy shovelware that got rushed into the space as a result of all these non-gaming studios, non-gamers kind of charging into games because woo, shiny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's going to be some flops. I mean, that's what happens. But also what seems to happen is that a lot of those, they put all the effort into the game, into building the game, and it's a lot of work. And so rather than just give right up, they really develop a very iterative approach. They take the learning from their experience, and because to make these marginal, these incremental changes are easy these days. I mean, you just tweak some stuff, update some stuff, and push it back out. It's not like the old days when we had to burn a new CD, or burn it onto a cartridge and wait for Christmas to come out. So, really very rapid iteration, and also while working with the community. And I mean, I think that the decentralization is an important part of that community building. I mean, now there's this huge cottage industry of game studios, which are, they're industry veterans. I mean, people with 10, 15 years of experience in AAA, and, just like us, they've jumped on over to this space.
Yeah. Yep. Right. So, on the topic then of AAA and experience therein, as you mentioned, so into October, I know Steam is still banned Web3, but the concept of game distribution platforms. This is I'm referring to sort of an article. Is it the future of blockchain games? So because this is where a lot of discovery takes place in these sort of environments, and where I see loads of potential with transactions and sort of general concepts of ownership, of course. So specifically distribution platforms, marketplaces, even campaign-centric social hubs. You can get some interesting Web3 ideas there. I mean, that's where people get matched to their dream communities filled with like-minded individuals. And there's no doubt that being an active participant in the development of a Web3 game is more multi-dimensional, as we were talking about earlier. It's a much more involved process than its traditional counterparts. Because it's often invisible as the development of a traditional Web2 game. But on the flip side, maybe it's specifically because there is so much going on. There's so much noise in the space, and there's maybe a bit of paralysis of choice that comes with the territory. So that's exactly the kind of maybe paralysis we want to help relieve in curating a secure and reputable path to finding the best Web3 games out there.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the big friction points for onboarding, Web 2 gamers, has to do with a certain degree of sort of comfort and inertia in the ecosystems that they already know. They're entertained, they're having fun, they got their fiddle faddle or their poppycock. I don't know what are the snack foods that you eat these days. I don't know, Lunchables.
Yeah.
These are American things. People are probably like, huh? Anyway, so they're entertained, they're having fun, and so why look elsewhere? Especially when Web3 games, again, because of what I was talking about before, are perceived to sort of be lower quality, maybe kind of shoveled out there, rushed out the door, and plus with some additional dimensions of the space can seem a little bit daunting. I mean, you got gamers don't usually know about like wallets and governance and bridging and swaps and it's like, where's the game? So I mean, for most people, it's frictiony. So the onus really is on the developers and the innovators to sort of blaze that trail, to kind of knock down that and smooth it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to hope that's exactly what we're doing. Cool. So moving on to November, getting close then. I've talked about this in that AMA I mentioned just previously with Voyage partners, but worth mentioning again, chatting about it with you. So we're seeing more big publishers as well. So we've seen big studios as we've talked about, but we're seeing big publishers getting involved a bit also. One of the most notable there being Square Enix, otherwise known as the publishers of Final Fantasy. So that's very cool, and also been a big jump in NFT sales volume in November, and so maybe that points to maybe the post traumatic stress is wearing off a little bit from the pain we felt earlier in the year. Before that, maybe we're starting to recuperate a little bit, and interest is starting to gain again. That would be very cool if it were.
Yeah, the timing is great. I mean, November, December, we saw big, Bitcoin kind of get a new big head of steam. And, Bitcoin, it's kind of a rising tide that lifts all the boats in all the different segments of the market.
Yes, which is a good sort of circle of but Bitcoin's where I got started, so it's very easy to follow the Bitcoin movements as a way to gauge where our industry will be soon. So I like having to do that. Yeah, and interesting way to close the chapter. Maybe a little bit of glimmer of hope at the end of again, it wasn't all bad, of course, in 2023. Of course, it was all good on the Myria front. We were building the whole time, but still at a broader perspective, seeing a little glimmer of hope there is pretty great. And Myria will keep building as well. So that's for 2024, and we'll see how we can sort of ride what might be bubbling in the industry. And until then, our festive Advent calendar is still active until the 19th, before we get all cozied up for Christmas and the holidays. So you can visit our Zeely page for more information on how to join that. And we're also giving out Myria tokens as a fun little prize at the end of it. So good luck to everyone. Thanks for chatting, Andrew. This is we're chatting all the time, but this is fun to do it with some people watching. I wasn't taking a look at the chat. I wonder if yeah. So good luck to everyone, and Merry Christmas in advance. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening, taking the time, and Merry Christmas, and see you soon.
See you soon. Cool.